Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, jam, two-hand monster flush, off the inbound. Ryan, gam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in episode 164. And guess what month it is? Oh yeah, baby. It's March. We're here. Shout out old CBS intro. I think I stopped in 03 it said, so it's been a while. Like that one better than the new one, honestly. All right. Like I said, episode 164, March 5th, 2024. Here we are. Conference tournament started yesterday. First few rounds kicking off. One and done time. It's a beautiful time of year. The weather's been pretty good around here, aside from a couple cold days, but pretty good for late February, early March. Let's get to it. Podium. I'll go first. Arch Manning, nephew of Peyton and Eli, son of Cooper, 5-star quarterback. He's this sought-after guy in the class of 2023. Goes to Texas last year. Only played in a couple games. He was behind Ewers and Malik Murphy. He's very touted, whatever, and Steve Sarkisian was quick to pump the brakes on him, saying, he's pretty good, but he's got to pay his dues. He's got to learn and get better to be a starter. He's not going to play right away, and people are what the heck, whatever. Texas fans love him. Quinn Ewers comes back this season for this next season for unfinished business, and Arch is still there, obviously. And last week in the podium, I talked about NCAA Football 25 coming out and how awesome it is, and it really is. It's more and more guys are opting in. And this comes out yesterday. Arch Manning to opt out of NCAA Football 25. What? First of all, you get $600. Every person that opts in gets $600 and a free copy of the game. I would take that in a heartbeat. I would give my left foot to be in a video game. That's awesome. And this dude, he just wants millions of dollars. He's getting millions of dollars. I heard he got a Rolls Royce to go to Texas. Never played a meaningful down of football, and probably won't until next year. And who knows if he's even any good, just because of his name. This is ridiculous. Makes more money than you and I will make in our lifetime, being a backup quarterback in college football, nonetheless. It's a joke. But this guy's a priss, man. He says, it's just so I can focus on football itself. Dude, why would a video game distract you from your football playing? That's the most childish thing I've ever heard. Are you going to play it all day and all night if you're in it and you're not? If you're not, that makes no sense. He's a weirdo. It's culty. I don't like it.
That's what happens when you pay guys millions of dollars before they show up and actually play. All right, so my podium, first off, hats off to Caitlin Clark. I gave a quote last week when she, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago when she broke the record, the initial women's record. She's since set the overall women's record because there was a woman who played before the NCAA had sanctioned women's basketball. And now, as probably everybody, unless you live under a rock, knows, she passed Pistol Pete Maravich for the most prolific scorer.
Call her Ponytail Pete.
Yeah, the most prolific scorer in Division I basketball. That's an accomplishment, but here's a huge asterisk for you. Pistol Pete did it, I'm sorry, against tougher competition. I'm sorry, in 3 years, and I'm sorry, with no three-point line. And Caitlin Clark, I say this not to take anything away from her. I say this because there's a former college basketball player, I think he might have played a little bit in the NBA, never really been a huge fan of listening to his show, but I caught him on TikTok the other day, Doug Gottlieb. Not a huge fan, but he's exactly right. Why does this need to be compared to Pistol Pete? Why? The accomplishment sets her apart as the greatest women's scorer, at least. If you want to argue basketball player, whatever, that's semantics, because there's lots of things that go into basketball. She's the best, most prolific scorer in women's basketball history, period, with no asterisks, no extra time, no caveats, no nothing. Minus, okay, so the lady that was in the 70s didn't have the three-point line either, but whatever, that's not her fault. She's amazing. She's got range. She's got game. She's, oh, by the way, I think she's pretty close to double-digit assists. But why the woke-ass insistence, the DE&I insistence on comparing her to men? So, by the same token, then let's celebrate, as ESPN would, a man who doesn't make it as a woman who decides to play women's basketball and breaks that record. How are you going to handle that? Like, just compare apples to apples. We don't need to compare women to men, men to women, white to black, anything. You don't need to compare any of that stuff. Good is good, period. Yep. Great is great, period. Caitlin Clark is the greatest women's college basketball player. I'm going to say player because she's a good all-around player. She rebounds, she assists, and obviously she's a prolific scorer, period. That doesn't make her any less of a person because you don't compare her to the men. Pistol Pete Maravich is one of the greatest male basketball players in college basketball history. Doing what he did in 3 years with no three-point line, unbelievable. He's one of the greatest basketball players in history, had he not died at an early age. Just bar none. So can we stop with this woke BS, this comparison, this need to make everything inclusive and equal? Because it's not. And it's okay that it's not. Let's celebrate Caitlin Clark for what she is to little girls. She's a hero in women's basketball, and there's nothing wrong with that. Leave it at that.
Yep. Nice. All right. Tee up of the week. We both said this earlier, and we're going to stick with it. Selection committee. NCAA. You might think, why are you saying that? The term hasn't happened yet. Well, this came out, it was probably like last year around this time they started talking about it, push under the rug, and then the other day it comes back how the selection committee is looking to expand the tournament to 72 or 78 teams. Let me stop you there. No, don't do that, because 68 is too many already. It should be like 65, like it used to be, or 64. It's ridiculous. Like, you're going to put in more mediocre teams? What, so like frickin' Syracuse can get in every year now, being an average team? Like,
the tee up is why do we always have to fix things and make it better? Why do we have to be, again, more inclusive? It's supposed to be exclusive. Not everybody gets a participation trophy. You don't get to try to win the national title if you're the 72nd team in the tournament. How often does the 68th team in the tournament make it? Maybe they win a game. That's it. I get it. It's for TV. But here's the thing is, if you go to 72 teams, which is more logical than 96, I read today that there's no appetite to go to 96 or 80 or anything. Like 72 is the number. That's basically 4 more teams. It's a couple more play-in games. But the revenue then gets split down to 72 teams. It used to be split among, well, before 64 was 48, then 64, now 68. Then they want to go to 72. At what point do you stop? Like, what you're going to let in is a mediocre to crappy Power 5 team that doesn't deserve it. Now, you're going to at me and say, well, but Andy, Ohio State's been playing great. You know, that would give them a chance if they won, like,
well, played better basketball earlier in the season.
It's not what you do down the stretch. It's a full season picture. There's the reason they look at net and strength of schedule, and they used to look at things like RPI, and they look at all these metrics and Ken Pom and whatever. That's across the season. They don't even, if you remember, they used to do last 10 games. Yeah, they would do RPI, and last 10 games were huge metrics. They don't do those metrics anymore. They don't look at those metrics anymore. Why? Because it's the whole season. You don't need to go to 72 teams. It's better when it's less teams because it's exclusive to get in. It means more when you get in. It means more when you win it because you had to get in. I'm okay with 68. It's been 68 for a while. don't screw with it. There's no reason to mess with it just to get because this is what it is. It's going to get you another ACC, another SEC, another Big Ten, and another Big 12 team. Who cares? The 9th, 10th, 11th best teams in those conferences, I don't care. And guess what? If a 10 or 11 seed Virginia Tech a couple years ago runs the table and wins the ACC and they get in,
good for them.
Good on them. That means somebody that was on the bubble has their bubble burst. Like, don't take away the bubble just because it's not fair that more teams don't get in. It's not fair. You already have 68 of 330 teams. That's, by my math, about 20%. That's plenty. 20% of the teams in college basketball have a chance to win a national title. That's plenty. You're going the way of bowl games by adding more.
Well, of course, it's all about money. It's all it ever is about. And
it's more money for the TV, but it's less money for the teams in the conferences.
Well, and it goes down to the.
And I don't buy exposure
football
either.
Playoffs are already trying to go to 14, and so it just turned to 12. They haven't even played 12 yet.
Yeah,
bastards.
It's ridiculous. All right. First quarter is in Big Ten Power Rankings are presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports, sponsorship, and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com. All right, Rob. I'll give you my team by team, and you give me your analysis. How about we do that? And then I'll chime in with some. First of all, last week we gave a hope shout out. They won the MIAA, got into the tournament, blew out their first opponent, and then just ran into, by all accounts, an absolute hot shooting team in the second round and got beat by the host school there. Calvin and Trine move on to the Sweet 16 from MIAA, so good for them. Also, hoop shout out to Coach Clough and the Rockford boys. Tough season. They had a really fun. It had been a while since I've been to a high school game, especially one with that kind of atmosphere. Crazy great. District game against Coopersville, which didn't know anything about. They got a kid, it turns out he's like, his uniform, he looked like he's poured into it, like he was in a wrestling singlet. Turns out he's a 4-star going to play on the offensive line at Ohio State. They were not necessarily a spectacular team, but they pressured the heck out of Rockford, and then Rockford came back from a big deficit, and it was kind of a crazy game. Rockford got it all the way back to tied and lost, so that was a bummer. And then shout out to my alma mater and your boy JG, Forest Hills Central. And our guy Owen, Ryan trained him for a while back in the day. I worked with his mom, Isadora. Hit a very, what did I say? It was Rip Hamilton like UConn, except it was from the side, not straight on. Like put back at the buzzer to put FHC in their first regionals in a while. So I think they're maybe playing tonight. So
yeah, I think I'm checking the score.
Shout out to them. So all right, now let's get into Big Ten, and then there's obviously plenty to talk about in college basketball. That'll be the lion's share of this podcast.
Forest Hills Central beat East Kentwood by 12.
Nice. Good job, Rangers.
Finals.
All right, so 14th and have been there the whole season, Michigan.
They're horrid. They gave up. I think they gave up.
Yeah, I think Doug McDaniel can all of a sudden play on the road because apparently he passed his underwater basket weaving class.
Is Juwan going to get fired?
I don't see how he doesn't. I just don't.
They don't care about basketball though. That's the thing.
They don't, but they're going to quickly care about it when their football team sucks because their football team still has something coming to them. And their football team has all this turnover, and they don't have half the staff that they used to. And it'd be a shame for Michigan, honestly, if I'm a Michigan fan, if they don't care about basketball, because Michigan has a lot of history in basketball. They won a Natty in 1989. You know, whether they cheated to get it or not, they had the Fab Five. You know, they've had some great players over the years, and Cassie Russell and so on and so forth. Juwan has driven a program that John Beilein rebuilt from the ground up.
They tore it down.
I mean, Tommy Amaker didn't leave it in horrible shape, but John Beilein rebuilt that program, and Juwan burned it down with one strike of a match.
One strike of a face.
One strike of a face. Yeah, good point. So Michigan dead last. I was thinking before, it wouldn't surprise me if they won a game. No way they're going to win a Big Ten tournament. They don't even care anyway.
I watched some of that game against Austin. They walk back on defense. They don't chase down.
Sounds like AJ Hogarth.
No, they don't.
You know, kind of my bottom five are all pretty interchangeable, honestly. I have Rutgers slipped to 13.
Not very good.
Not a very good offensive team. Really good defensive team. I think I saw they're number 4 in KenPom on defense, but they're like 130 something on offense. They're 278. I'm sorry, on offense.
Ooh, wow.
That was Maryland. That was in the high hundreds on, which is my number 12 team. Maryland, a team that's got a lot of talent,
They're
and a good
my biggest
coach.
disappointment, I think. aside from
161
Michigan
in offense and 7 in defense. Yeah, I
State. I thought they'd be a top 5 team in the Big Ten for sure.
I can't figure it out because Scott's a nice player.
Young's very good.
Young's a very good player.
Reese is solid.
Reese,
when he plays in the game.
like when he's got his head straight. I'm not really sure what's missing there. I don't. Maybe it's a chemistry thing. I don't see it enough. I'd have to ask my boy that I work with, Rafi, who went to Maryland, to see a little bit more of what he thinks the problem is. But a little bit of a big disappointment there.
And I'll eat crow here. I was super wrong on my Big Ten projections. I thought Michigan State would be really good. Maryland would be really good. Indiana I was pretty wrong. So
I think a lot of people have been wrong. The Big Ten is very meh.
It's terrible.
Yeah, Penn State, I've said all along, even though I haven't in my bottom 5, that I really like them. I think they're a year away if they can keep most of their pieces together. They've got some interesting pieces and parts. It still wouldn't surprise me if they won a game or two. Well, they're probably going to play on the first day of the tournament, in the Big Ten tournament, but it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe won 2 games in the tournament. I think they've got that kind of a team. I have them 11. I have Indiana 10. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to lose to Michigan State this weekend, because I really don't think that they are at Indiana, but they are such an enigma too. They got more talent than you.
Yeah, when they play well, they're really good. When
they don't have any 3-point shooting.
Bad defense.
They struggle at point guard. Those are like some Indiana core tenets for
the last 15 years.
For Bobby Knight years too. Great point guards, great shooters. They don't have any of that now, so it is not a very Indiana-like team. Lots of big guys, but that don't interchange and don't play off of each other very well. I don't think that's I didn't think it was the right coaching hire for them back then. I still don't think it is. It'll be interesting to see what they do. He's getting up there in age. Then I'll come down to the next line of teams that still have an outside chance to maybe slide in if things go crazy. Ohio State's one of them. We were pissed off when they beat Michigan State, rightfully so. Michigan State's better than Ohio State on paper. It was at home, coming off of a loss, inexcusable loss. But Ohio State's been continuing to play well. They got stung, I think, on the road.
No,
once.
They only lost to Minnesota under Duke.
Right.
And Minnesota played really well.
But Ohio State's been playing well. They're 18-12 now. I think they can get back to 500 in the conference. So
they're 9. They have 11 losses in the conference. So they 9-11.
9-11's their season.
I think they have one more.
That could hurt them in a bad conference, but also in a very mediocre conference when there's a ton of teams between 9-11 and 11-9. Maybe not. They win another game or two. Who knows? They might sneak in.
I think there's on the bubble. I mean, the outside looking in, but I think if they get to like Saturday, the Big Ten tournament, they're going to make things really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, so standings wise, 8-11, so they got one game left. They're 18-12, so if they win that, and I don't remember who they play off the top of my head. Let me look at games. Oh, they probably play this weekend. Ohio State.
Yeah, they don't play till Saturday.
Sunday. They play Rutgers at Rutgers.
So they should win that.
Should win. That's 19-12. Then you're probably looking at, you're probably looking at like the 9 seed or so, but maybe 10 seed. But if you get a win, and especially if they get 2, I think they're a lock.
Yeah, they might be. That'd be kind of wild.
Well, I mean, they've been a talented team all along. So another team that's right there kind of with them, Iowa, obviously on a late run, no surprise at the expense of Michigan State. Also 18-12, 10-9, so they're in a little bit better position because they've got a winning Big Ten record. They play Illinois, so that's a huge chance to get a quad 1 win on Sunday. They play Sunday night at 7 o'clock. That would be a rather big win for them if they could get that. That's their last game left. We're in the last week of the regular season. So they get that win, I think they're in.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they played them pretty tough at Illinois last weekend, too. They ended up losing, but they played them pretty tough. So at Iowa, berth on the line, potentially, again, get that win and then that's a quad 1, and they've got some good wins otherwise. Especially because right now, Illinois is up 6 at the half on Purdue. So if they got that win, that makes Illinois' resume look even better, which would make a win by Iowa look even better yet. So I still have Minnesota at 7.
They're solid.
They're just a good basketball team. They're well coached. They're connected. 18-11, 9-9, and 9. So they're 2 games left. They play Indiana at the Barn tomorrow. That's a huge game for Indiana, but Minnesota wins that. That's a huge help. And then they play at Northwestern on Saturday, and Northwestern is literally limping in. We'll talk about them in a minute, but they're literally limping into the Big Ten, last week of the season and into the tournament. So I think Minnesota's there. I think Michigan State, for my liking, they're 13 because they're that disappointing. I have them at 6. 2 huge games this week. 2 games they really need to win. They've lost 3 in a row. We'll talk about Michigan State and the state of state. I'm sick of moral victories. I don't give 2 shits about a moral victory and only losing to Purdue by 6 when you haven't beaten them there in 10 years. I don't care about any of that stuff. You got to win games. And you need to win on senior day against Northwestern, and you need to do something you don't very often do, and that's win at Indiana to assure yourself a chance to go. Do they have a lot of the metrics? Yup. As we get into the KenPom, do they have the KenPom stuff? Yup. But Izzo himself said after the Northwestern game, I don't care about metrics. Metrics lie, and he's not wrong because there's one key metric, and again, not to get too far on a state tangent yet, that he ignores time and time again that is very blatantly obvious, and that Booker should be playing more than Mady Sissoko. All right, so 5, Wisconsin. Talk about a team that, they've won 1, 2 of their last 10.
They've been horrible.
If the tournament selection committee looked at the last 10, Wisconsin would be glaring.
Their resume is really good because they beat a lot of quad 1 teams. They have 8 quad 1 wins.
And they've got Purdue, so they got a chance to at Purdue on Sunday, but that's Purdue's senior day. That's Zach Edey, make a totem pole day. And then they got Rutgers at the Cole on Thursday. So even if they split, they're 19 and 12. They're probably a 5 seed in the Big Ten tournament or so.
Probably 7 overall.
So I think they're safe, but they'll be interesting. Nebraska, pretty solidly on the 4 line right now for the Big Ten tournament, which is pretty amazing. They've got 1 game left. That would be Sunday is a busy day against Michigan. So that should put them at 22 and 9.
Pretty impressive.
And they'll get a double bye. They'll be a top 4 seed, I believe, is how it should shake out.
Yeah, Nebraska ball.
Yeah, because that would put them at 12 and 8, and there's a much better chance of that than Wisconsin going to 12 and 8. Nebraska, who had that in there?
I thought they could be solid, but
in their preseason picks, no way, not that good. And Northwestern number 3. Problem with Northwestern is they're dropping like flies, which is too bad because a lot of teams would say, I hate Northwestern. I don't like the way they play. I personally, as a basketball guy, love the way that they play. You look at them, I use the old AAU eyeball test. I watch teams coming in the gym and I judge them, just at the surface level. I was wrong on that a lot, by the way. I would look at Northwestern and go, I want to play those guys. We're going to kick their ass. And I look back in history at that. Kevin Kobler, all those guys.
John Shurna.
Yeah, John Shurna, Sean Morris, all those guys. That's what Northwestern looks like. Northwestern minus Boo Booey does not look like a basketball team. They look like a bunch of bookworms. But the problem is you got Ty Berry's already out for the season, and he was really having a nice later season stretch.
He's the reason why Michigan State lost it the first time around.
And you have their big guy now, Nicholson, broke his foot, so I assume he's out, right, for the season probably with a broken foot.
I only assume.
If it was a Michigan State guy, they'd be out for months. And then who's their other guy that's out right now?
Langborg's banged up.
Which is another kind of forward guy that's out.
He's a 2.
Northwestern, okay, so he's a 2, which takes away another shooter. So that's even more on Bowie, who's a stud and makes plays that are just unbelievable. But, it's too bad because Northwestern, I think, if they were right, I think they would have a chance. They've already beaten Purdue this year and put them to overtime. They would have a chance to win the Big Ten tournament. They've got that type of team.
They're a fun team.
But, they'll get in the tournament, the big dance, but I don't think they'll make as much noise as they could have if they had stayed healthy. Number 2, we've said this all along, Illinois, clearly the second best team in the Big Ten, beaten Purdue tonight. And then has obviously the one more game against Iowa this weekend. They could technically lose both and go 22 and 9, 13 and 7, but very good chance. They're pretty much a lock at the 2 seed. They still have an outside chance to tie for the Big Ten title if they win. If they win tonight and they win
against Iowa and
Purdue loses to Wisconsin, they would tie for the title. Don't think that'll happen. And then Purdue number 1. Like, what do you want to say about Purdue?
Now we can get to that in the Michigan.
Yeah,
State
we can get
thing.
to that. Just like Purdue as a team overall, again, I stand by. Edey is in the paint for 4 and 5 seconds at a time regularly. Edey gets away with fouls that most 7-foot guys wouldn't get away with, the way he locks guys up and stuff, and they just use the excuse that he's a big guy. Edey shot more free throws than Michigan State did the other day. They won really. The difference was because their guards went 8 for 10 from 3. I don't know. Purdue is still a team for me that I think is going to be a number 1 seed, pretty much a lock, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see them lose in the first weekend of the tournament because they get away with absolute murder. They've shot like 300 more free throws than their opponents.
And here's the thing, NCAA tournament, I mean, anything can happen. Obviously, lost to a 16 last year. Teams are going to throw junk defenses at them. Like that's in Purdue's not going to be able to handle it. All these fouls they get called. I've been saying it all year. Are they great in the Big Ten? Yes, because they're physical. They get away with stuff. They make foul shots. They know how to play in the Big Ten. Then they get outside of it. There's a reason why the Big Ten hasn't won since Michigan State won in 2000. It's trash. It's trash officiated. It's a different ball game.
And here was my fun stat. So shout out to Dauber. Edey has not fouled out in 2 seasons and is averaging 35 minutes played per game. How does a 7'4" guy not foul out in 2 seasons? It's not because he's super skilled, people. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock him. He's going to be the player of the year again, but he's 7'4" and he doesn't play in the NBA. That should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah. Stupid. He's single-handedly, Purdue and him have single-handedly set the game of basketball back 30 years in the Big Ten. Sucks. You want to do your Ken Pom thing real quick?
Yeah, we'll do Ken Pom here. Let's see here. Sifting through all my notes. Okay, so again, top 40 on offense, top 22 on defense. I've won the Natty every year since Ken Pom, which is 2002. So this week and this is in ranking based on their defensive ranking, Houston is number 1 on defense, 13 offense. Iowa State had been kind of on the cusp, but they've fallen way back. They're actually number 2 on defense, but they're 65 on offense. So they are out of the equation. Tennessee, 3 on defense, 18 on offense. That's probably a number 1 seed right there. Auburn, still 5 on defense, 14 on offense. Carolina has been holding pretty steady, 6 on defense, 27 on offense. There's some other really good defensive teams that are just absolutely horrible on offense, like Virginia, 8 and 195.
They're trash.
UCF 10 and 179. Kansas is out after they moved back in. They are 11 on defense, but 44 on offense.
Yeah, we've watched them.
Their offense is
not
shaky.
Not impressive.
Still in there. This is one of those metric things, and it makes you shake your head. Michigan State, 12 on defense, even though they gave up 80 to Purdue. It was mostly because it was free throws. 39 on offense, so they're hanging by a thread there. Arizona, 14 on defense, 6 on offense. They're right in the mix. UConn, 17 on defense, 4 on offense. Marquette, solid 18 and 19. 18 on defense, 19 on offense. Duke has slid up there. They've been kind of on the don't count them out line forever. They're 20 on defense, 7 on offense. They're coming around. Purdue stays there, 21 on defense, 2 on offense. And Creighton right on the bubble at 22 on defense, but 12 on offense. So those are your teams to look at, to bet on. There's not anybody that's particularly close. I mean, kind of a fun one we talked about. Nebraska, 27 on defense, 47 on offense. So they're really not that far off, which is crazy. Nobody else that really super stands out as that close, again, because the defense matters. Like your 23rd best defense has the 122nd best offense. Your 24th has 82nd. Your 25th has 263rd. So Nebraska is really the only team that has another kind of quasi-outside shot there, I would say. So super interesting as far as that goes.
Who are your 1 seed? Same as last week?
Yeah, I think I don't remember who I had last week.
Houston, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think so. It still wouldn't surprise me if Arizona sneaks in there, but Tennessee's been playing well.
Yeah,
Look, if Tennessee loses early-ish in the SEC tournament and Arizona wins the Pac-12, I could see them flip-flopping.
I mean, I would assume Arizona's going to win the Pac-12. I mean, Washington State beat them, but...
And I still think probably 6, maybe 7 now Big Ten teams get in with the potential for as many as 9 honestly. Man, that would piss off some leagues because the Big Ten is super mediocre. But
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I don't know. Somebody, if Ohio State, Iowa gets in, somebody out of Minnesota, Michigan State is not going to get in. I think your locks are Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. I think Purdue's a 1. I think Illinois is a top 4 seed. I think nobody else is better than a 7 seed.
No, I'd say Wisconsin's probably a 7. Northwestern anywhere from 8 to 10. Same with Nebraska. The problem with these teams,
Northwestern's going to get downgraded because of their injuries. I think.
And here's the other problem. This is why these teams are like Nebraska, and Northwestern. You're like, oh, their record's really good. Well, they've lost to quad 3 and 4 teams at home.
Right.
I mean that damages you.
Yeah,
That's why
losing to Chicago State.
Michigan State's at darling the net. Michigan State has not lost to a bad team, and they've had no blowout losses. That's why they're so high. They have beaten everyone they should.
I don't know if they still lead that, hold the lead stat or not, but
no, oh God, no way. Blew a lead in multiple games.
Yeah, lately they have, that's for sure. But they had held that for a while. So
I don't think you have anything. I have anything else.
No, we got, we'll move to second quarter hodgepodge mailbag. We got some Mitch-a-Palooza stuff, which is awesome. I'm going to start with this one. I don't know if you saw this today or not, Ryan, but, so Dartmouth Hoops players vote to join local union.
Stupid.
First of all, it's the Ivy League. No offense, Polo, because your son plays for the Ivy League and he's a smart kid and you got to be a smart kid to go to an Ivy League school for the most part, but you're not on scholarship anyway. So if you want to play basketball for not scholarship, go to a D3 school, and then you won't have as many commitments. I mean, it's honestly pretty much the same,
go
right?
wash you.
Like if that's your bitch, is that they've got you. You're playing Division I basketball with a chance to play in the national tournament. I'm sorry, but you commit to playing a Division I sport, you don't get to complain about the things that you're complaining about. So I'm going to read. I told Dobb I was going to quote him because he sent, which I thought summed this union thing up perfectly. If I were these schools, I would just eliminate varsity sports altogether. Sponsoring these athletes is a losing proposition for conferences like the Ivy League as it stands today, and will become more so now that they have become unionized. The complaint that coaches have too much control over their schedule is a total joke. You signed up to play at the institution, which is, again, Division I. If you don't like the time commitment, then quit and transfer, because I guarantee 90% of the Ivy athletes wouldn't have been admitted based on their academics alone. And I agree with you, Dobb. I'm sick of this shit. He's right. And look, you have options. You don't want to be controlled? Division III is a great option for you. You're paying your way just like you probably are at the Ivy League. And if you really truly are that smart to get in, you could probably get a fair amount of academic money to go to D3 and play at like Hope or Calvin or, some of the top echelon D3 programs. Nothing wrong with that. You don't see the D3 student athletes unionizing. You don't see them, profiling for or petitioning for a 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th year. Just like enough. I've had enough of it. Like, stop already. Stop. You're not slave labor. You're not. I get it if you go to Ivy League and you're not getting a lot of scholarships, but again, you chose that for yourself. You probably were good enough to go and get pretty good scholarship money to play D2 or to go to a lower level, even yet D1, where you could get scholarship money and, by the way, still get a good non-woke education. All right, Mitch. Mitch is always great about giving us questions. Love it when you give us questions, Mitch. Isn't the baby coming soon?
May.
All right. Hey, May 4th. Got to shoot for May 4th. That's a good day. We still got to get out and play golf, too, before you're tied down with the second one, Mitch. All right. So Mitch says, should the PGA Tour consider cutting an additional 5 to 7 events to allow for more fun events at unique venues like match play, team events, etc.? We kind of talked about this.
We talked about this. Yeah, I love it. I'd love a par 3 event.
Because we talk about, we like the one in New Orleans. That's the team event.
Yeah, different style, like alternate.
I mean, even
shot.
if you wanted to lift the boost, the LPGA a little bit, is to have
they started doing that.
Little team mixed teams
they
events.
They do that, but it's not as publicized.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because here the thing is part of, I think, the gripe and part of the reason people go to the live and sell their soul to the devil is for the money, right? They play less. They play 54 holes. They get to wear shorts.
There's music blaring.
Music's blaring. It's like us playing golf, right? It's not real. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not real golf. It's not. You can have as many Roms and DJs and Brysons and Brookses as you want. It's not real golf. It's just not. take that and do what you want with it, but it's not real golf. So, but if some of their gripe is we get more money to play less and we have more time to be with our family, like even Cam Smith said that, all right, so have a few less. Have maybe more elevated events, so you have your star players at more events. But here's the thing too, is I've said this for a while. The PGA is about the story. Like Knapp had a great story, and then he came back and finished top 5 here. The guy from France that had to go like on a heater, Pavone, to get into to qualify for the PGA Tour, and then won, and he's been like top 10 a couple times this year. I think he's atop if not the FedEx, like the Comcast business standing.
Was that last week I talked about the golf with another first-time winner this week, Eckroat?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, I get it's not the star power, but honestly, if it's not Tiger, if it's good golf and you like golf, do you really care? I mean, you're probably going to watch it no matter what because you want to look at the golf course and dream about playing there. So I agree, Mitch. I think cut more because more of the players would be engaged anyway because they want to play less. They want to have a family. They want to be able to, get around. And
they like changing it up.
Yeah, and then take those fun events and rotate them through cities that don't necessarily get tournaments. You kind of drive some fans that come out for something that's a little bit different. It's still PGA golf, but it's got a little bit of a unique spin to it. I think that's a great idea. I love this one. Should MSU Hoops play a game at Jenison in throwback uniforms next year? Amen. Script State, shorty shorts. That place is absolutely a dump. The last time I was in there, and that was years ago, so they probably need to fireproof it and do some work there. But yes, I love that idea. It seats probably at its old basketball capacity, like 9,500.
That would be awesome. Pack
that joint to the rafters. Bring back the 78 team. Bring back Magic and Kelser and all those guys. I would pay a lot of money for a ticket to go to that game. Yeah. My dad, coincidentally, I have a placard here of like first shot, last shot at Jenison. He was at the last Jenison Fieldhouse game, which was an NIT game.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's funny because Riley and I have been saying it for years. They should do the Jenison thing because Texas a few years ago started doing one at their arena and it was all students. So it's super
even better.
Loud and rowdy.
You look at Ryan and I have been talking about this. Maybe we've talked about this on the pod. Baylor, brand new stadium or arena, seats
65,700.
It's kind of almost like vertical, like Assembly Hall is. It's loud as hell. House. It's got some natural light in it, and it is a ticket. Make venues smaller because people don't want. Like I was getting emails on my phone today that you could get tickets to Senior Day at
$12.50
at Michigan State. Senior Day at Michigan State, a tradition. I was there for the start of the tradition. It's the collection I have in the basement. Respert Kiss, then the S. Now it's the Spartan Head. And that's what we collect for our memorabilia, autographed pictures of guys kissing the floor. We'll not get AJ Ogard. I wouldn't put that in my toilet. But it used to be like, there's no way you could get that ticket. And now they're giving them away. And I get it. It's a Wednesday night and whatever. And it's one of the reasons I don't have my season tickets anymore because it's hard to get to the weekday games. You got to drive from Detroit, it's an hour and 15 minutes. You drive from Grand Rapids, an hour and 15 minutes, and it's a late night and all that stuff or whatever. So make it easier for the iZone. Make the iZone actually want to cheer louder, and you're not going to make the Breslin smaller, although it is smaller in capacity than it used to be because of reuse and stuff. They took out some seats for standing and all that kind of stuff. But I love it. Yeah, go play in a smaller arena. I think everybody should play in I think you should play in smaller football stadiums. That's what Northwestern's doing. They're building a new football stadium that's going to seat like 42,000, and they will pack that place out because their current field, even though it seats 60, doesn't get that many unless the opposing team brings those people.
Right.
Okay, for every Big House and Horseshoe and Neyland Stadium or whatever, that's 100,000 seats or whatever. Oh, great, whatever, fine. Wonderful atmosphere. I don't care. I would rather see it packed and loud than half empty.
Yep.
Next question, good question. What happens first, an MSU basketball or football championship? I'm assuming you mean national championship, Mitch, or a Detroit sports championship.
I think Detroit. I do.
Colleges, I think now, we have not seen proof of this, but I think college football is easier to turn around faster. I think Michigan State I'll put this out there. I think Michigan State football makes a CFP 12 or 14 teams, whatever it's going to be, before Michigan State gets back to the Final Four in basketball at this rate. But I would say it's more likely that the Lions or potentially the Tigers or maybe even the Red Wings could win a world championship. The one caveat you didn't throw in here is hockey. I think Michigan State's got a real chance to win the hockey national championship this year. They're super young, but they're also super good. So, and then the last question for Mitch. If you got to be the general manager of a team, what team would it be and what would be your first move?
The Lions, man. I don't know what I'd want to do. Re-sign a whole new secondary?
But the Lions are kind of no fun because they're already there. I mean, as a fan, they're fun because they're there. But
And I'd want to be the guy that would take them to the championship, though.
I would say the Pistons because I think basketball you could do quicker, but I absolutely abhor the NBA. So, and I don't know enough about hockey to do it. Make me the GM of the Tigers. I can make the Tigers a World Series contender really quick.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't matter. You can pay out the ass for anybody.
Right. I'm going to go get guys. I'm going to go get like 2 aces on the pitching staff. I'm going to get an ace reliever. I'm going to get a couple guys that can hit. I'm going to go out and sell my soul to get a World Series. So give me the Tigers. And I'm going to go, I couldn't even tell you, Mitch, I don't know the players in the Major League Baseball that well anymore. I'm going to go out and get the best stud young pitcher, Ohtani, and put him on my team.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Is that all then?
That is it for Mitch-a-Palooza for the week. Love the Mitch-a-Palooza segment. We should just rename it Mitch-a-Palooza instead of Mailbag.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, sometimes we get Chris-a-Palooza, and I'll throw in some Double-Palooza too, but it's the Mitch-a-Palooza segment. All right, third quarter, State of State, Michigan State hoops, football, hockey, shout out, first Big Ten championship. I was actually pretty shocked because if you follow college hockey at all, if you follow Michigan State hockey at all, they won the title in 2008. Justin Advocator on a goal beat Boston College with like 8 seconds to go or something like that. I wasn't shocked to know it was Michigan State's first Big Ten title in hockey because the Big Ten hasn't been around for that long as a actual hockey conference, but it was their first conference title since they won the CCHA in the 2000-2001 season. I was shocked to know that because Michigan State's they've had a little bit of a down run lately, but they've always had a really good hockey program, and especially like 80s, 90s, 2000s, up until they kind of started to fizzle closer to 2000 after they won that Frozen Four. But shout out to them. They went on the road to Wisconsin, got a 5-2 win. Their goalie had 44 saves. He's the youngest goalie. He's a Red Wings pick. Michigan State's got a young team. They've got a good team. They got to sit until I think the 16th, which I don't know. A couple weeks ago they had a weekend off, and then they came back and they split with Ohio State. So maybe in hockey you get healed up. Maybe it doesn't burn up your momentum that much. I don't know. But we'll see how they do in the Big Ten tournament, and they're a shoo-in for the NCAAs, which is great. So, anything football? I know the offensive and defensive coordinators spoke to the media this week. Saw some good stuff
Childs
there.
is doing really well. That's good.
I saw his Heisman odds.
That's
When's the last time Michigan State had a quarterback with Heisman odds? I didn't look at him, but
Brian
maybe. No, I doubt it. I mean, maybe.
Football. I don't have anything else. Football, I think they're trying to recruit well, which is good. Back to the old D'Antonio development. We like that.
Yep, totally agree with that.
So I think they start practice started 2 weeks maybe, which would be good.
Yeah, they're like the 20th or something like that. I know. So
yeah,
so it's got to be soon. It's usually like 6 weeks, so it's probably starts maybe even this weekend.
Yeah, great.
Something close. So yeah, like him over.
Looking for the info about the squad and how they're doing. I know they said that I've heard that their strength program is really doing well. Probably, hopefully, better than the last one.
Yeah, and here, look, that's the thing is Jason Kelsey, the better of the two Kelseys, came out yesterday, retired officially, and he actually, shouted out Coach D because he played for him for a year at Cincinnati and talked about how he developed him as a player because of how tough he was as a coach, but even how tougher he was with the weight room, which that tells you why Michigan State had so much success until he finally kind of just ran out of gas. You win in the weight room. You win in the weight room because you got to be tougher, faster, stronger, more endurance than these teams, and that's what Michigan State's got to get back to.
Yep, I agree. I'm excited. Like I don't know what to expect from Michigan State football, but I have what's a good word? I have hope. I have hope.
Yeah, I think I have hope as well. I'm going to start the basketball with this, and then I'm going to let you take the mic. This is what I texted my friends at the end of that game. I'm disgusted. We are down 6 with 10 plus seconds to go, and we still had a shot, and we effing quit. I watched Hope College once blow a 4-point lead in 3.5 seconds and lose a tournament game. I watched Michigan State blow in a 14-point lead with a little over a minute to go last year against Iowa. I've watched NCAA tournament games where teams score on crazy plays. I watched Western Michigan complete the best bounce pass in college basketball history, full court bounce pass to beat Ball State the other day in overtime. And Michigan State took the moral victory. That's how far, in my mind, Michigan State basketball has fallen. Blue Bloods don't play for moral victories. Don't say, hey, we played Purdue tougher than we have in a long time. By doggone it, 10 years it's been since we won at Mackey, but man, we gave them a fight and we had a chance. We didn't even shoot. We didn't shoot very well. Look at our stats. We didn't shoot very well, and we still almost beat them. That's not good enough, Tom. And that is what signifies to me that you better get this stuff together and get it straightened out, or you need to decide to move on, because moral victories have no place at Michigan State or Kentucky or North Carolina or Duke or any other blue blood program. Ridiculous. They don't. I was flat out, and I'm still talking about it, seething angry that Michigan State quit with 10 seconds to go. They quit. It was and I wondered when they Purdue inbounded the ball and was pressure free, and Painter called a quick timeout. I'm like, what the heck is he doing? He called timeout so he could have a good job of the announcers explaining. That way they reset the 10-second violation. Didn't matter. Michigan State didn't try. Like, you try to get a 5-second call, or you make a quick foul and maybe you get lucky. Yeah, I realize the chances are slim, but they're not none. This is a 2-possession game at that point in time. And I don't care that Michigan State played pretty good that game. I don't care that, like Booker, I do care that Booker played well again, but then Sissoko played like crap. Cooper played decent. Kohler was
trash.
Like Hogard was 3 for 13.
Walker
was 5 for 15. They were 8 for 28 total. Akins was good in the second half, horrible in the first half. Hall was was pretty good. They neutralized him pretty well. But I don't care that Michigan State played well enough to win. They quit at the end. And that's why I don't care if Northwestern has 3 starters out tomorrow or not. I don't trust this team. Team.
I mean, it's happened so many times in the last 4 years where you're like, maybe we're turning a corner. Maybe, we dodged a bullet with injuries on the other team and we just lose. Like, we're in no position. Like, the team that Michigan's, for a lot of that game that I saw from Michigan, that was the most desperate I've seen Michigan State play basketball in a long time. And I was like, wow, they actually, they care. They're putting effort. Like, Walker, is he hurt? Probably. He's been pretty terrible for the last
I
month.
think he's been playing soft, whether that's because he's hurt or not.
He's a bad
Here's
attitude.
the thing. Backs against the wall.
I don't like it.
Look at what Iowa and Ohio State are doing, backs against the wall. So good. That part's good. But I don't know that that's sustainable for Michigan State, because I don't think those guys care.
No, they don't. I mean, you can look, like, Hogard is a me player. He does his stupid showboating when he, gets makes one of his 8 layup attempts. I mean, the dude he's terrible. I am so excited for him to leave. And God darn it, if Jeremy Fears, bless his heart, hadn't been shot in a freak accident, AJ would have been benched a long time ago.
I don't know, because Tom loves his seniors.
No, I don't think he. I think that he would have done it, but he has no choice. Like, Holloman can't play just the one. And Walker can't play the one because he's hurt. Right. He has to do it. He has to play 30 minutes, and he's horrible. He didn't take the lead. We thought he'd be a 12, 5, and 8, 6 guy at least, and maybe be like a 30. His 3-point percentage is the same. Whatever. At the twos, he's like 8. Riley, I think Riley sent me. It's like he's like 8 for 40 on twos and like jumpers this year, mid-range jump shots. That is atrocious. I mean, that's not even logical. And I think Izzo made a comment yesterday. There was like, yeah, like AJ, he needs to take game shots. Apparently, all he does is just shoot threes after practice. Like, dude, you shoot like one a game. Like, he's a loser, and he has a bad attitude. He's a front runner. He's the worst Michigan State point guard of my lifetime, probably yours.
Yes,
I mean, I'd rather Davis Smith play. At least you know he's going to
tell you what, Chris pointed out in my text, Davis Smith, it took Davis Smith at halftime in the Michigan game to get our guys to get their shit
twice.
Together. That's a guy that
times.
is a preferred walk-on who's on a scholarship now, who's there because his dad is the great Steve Smith. No offense to Davis, but that's the truth. And it took him, like, really? That's what it took to get your guys to respond?
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, the good out of that game, I think that was the best Michigan State's guarded for 40 minutes all season, to be honest with you, despite horrible officiating.
Well, they gave up 8 for 10 shooting there to Lawyer and Smith.
Well, let me pick your poison.
3.
I mean, other teams do that and they don't make them. And of course, when Michigan State plays them, they make them because that's just...
Yeah, but I think part of it is Michigan State's just lazy on their
bad
rotations.
doubles.
I think they're bad doubles. I think they're slow to rotate. I don't think they get out with hands up on the closers. I think when they do get out with the hands up on the closer, they overrun the shooter. I don't think they have good eye and hand discipline when it comes to closeouts. Make them shoot over you. Don't run past them. Make them shoot over your hand. Get in their face. Make them edgy. Make them agitated. Make them make a decision. I don't think Michigan State's very good at that. I think they're slow to double. When they were doubling early or when they had success, it was with Holloman. Because he was the hardest scrambler back to the ball, too.
Akins is a good scrambler as well.
And Akins did wake up in the second half at least. But, you know, I mean, it's...
Holloman was good in that game, except for in the second half. He wasn't great offensively. Defensively, he's fine. Walker, not great. Hogard, terrible. Hall, pretty good. Carr didn't play a lot, but he played great when he was in. He did his role, played his role. I mean, he's not a scorer, but he got 4 rebounds, played some good defense. He's a rim protector. That's what you need out of him. Maybe get a dunk or two.
But this, Ryan, you said it though during the game at the 6:40 mark. Izzo subbed in and he had Cooper, Sissoko, and Carr. And I like Carr. I think Carr's got a ton of upside, but he's an offensive. He's offensive.
He should be playing the 4.
Liability is not maybe the word because he's not necessarily a liability, but he's an offensive. He's limited offensively. He's just not. He doesn't have his full repertoire yet.
Right.
He's a dunker. He's a driver, and he's not even as good of a driver as he could be yet, or as he's going to be. But you couple that with 2 big guys that can't score. You have 2 offensive players on the floor for what? Like when you have a lead and you're playing well and you sit Booker, like Booker was plus 14 in that game. Again, he's been plus.
Been great.
Then he battled with Edey. He had an and one flush. Was that over Edey? Wasn't it the and one flush?
Here's the thing. He gave up points to Edey, yeah.
Who doesn't?
Who didn't? Did Sissoko? Yeah.
Edey has scored like 3,000 points against Michigan State the last 3 times they've played. Literally, he's scored 30-plus points in all 3 of the games that they played. And if he was a better rebounder, which he should be at 7-4 than he is, he'd probably be averaging like 32, 33 points and 20 rebounds against Michigan State.
Yeah. I mean,
by far his best single game average against any team.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and then Booker, comes in, makes a couple threes over Edey. He, plays good defense. For the most part, obviously gets scored on a couple times, but he weighs 220 and Edey's huge,
and gets away with murder.
Right.
And here's my other thing about Purdue, they celebrated okay, congrats. You have 26 Big Ten titles. Big Ten titles are hard to come by. I get it. You haven't had a national title ever. You haven't been in the Final Four since 1980. No wonder you celebrate Big Ten titles like they're great. Like Michigan State wouldn't go as nuts for a Big Ten title now because they expect Final Fours. I don't know. I don't get that. You're that far removed from losing to Fairleigh frickin' Dickinson, and you're celebrating Big Ten championships and ties at this point as if it was the biggest thing ever. Now, I get it if it's been years.
Their fans are annoying, too. Every time they get called for a foul, booze raining in. It's what do you not foul? Every time Edey, that's not a foul.
Well, they get away with whatever they
Screw
want.
You. That's why you suck in the tournament. I hope you suck again, because I'm tired of you. You're
suck again.
Annoying. But yeah, Booker, I'm impressed with him. Hopefully he'll stay around because I think next year if Tom actually if he gets like 10 more pounds on him and can play a little more defense, I think he could be a really good player. But if he stays around and buys into it, don't know if that'll happen. But whatever. Michigan's got to win at least one of these games this week. One.
At least one.
At least one. I think one gets you in Dayton, 2. And then one in the Big Ten tournament, you're probably if you get lucky and other teams lose, maybe you go up to a 7, but you're probably an 8 or a 9 seed.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like if Michigan State, if we get to that point where they're in there, who's a 1 seed you want to play? Not UConn.
Houston.
Not going to play Purdue.
Maybe. Houston's had some injuries. So
Tennessee, maybe.
Yes.
Houston.
Arizona.
UConn.
We almost beat Arizona.
Arizona's a team I wouldn't mind matching up with and get another shot at, like if they were a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, I would not want to play UConn.
Maybe Carolina.
Yeah.
But who would handle Baycott? I don't know.
Iowa
Who would handle, who's their point guard that's playing really well?
Davis.
Who would handle him? Like
Iowa State.
Iowa State. I think we could beat the Fighting Bill Norrises.
Who else? The 2 like Marquette.
Auburn,
Creighton.
Yeah, I don't know.
Creighton would poop on us. I'm sorry.
I don't. If Michigan State doesn't get to at least the Sweet 16, it's a waste of a season for me.
Yeah, we said it. We said it was Final Four or bust at the beginning of the season. And now it's tournament or bust.
No, I don't even care. I'd rather them miss the tournament than back their way in and get lucky, to be honest. I'd rather see the streak go away so we stop playing for a streak and we start playing to win again. All right. Now a word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. What was that? The Cognizant? Is that what we just had? Another Monday finish.
Skeeter Eck wrote.
Yeah. Guys you never heard of, but playing really well. Fun course to watch. Interesting. There are two stretches on that course that are 2 of the hardest 3-hole stretches in PGA golf.
Yep, that's pretty crazy. That course is beautiful.
I think it's like 6, 7, 8, and 16, 17, 18.
There's some big names that played. That wasn't some wimpy event.
No. Yeah, no. And then we got the Bay Hill this weekend. Arnie. Should be a great one. How did our guys do last week?
Let me see. I know one of Eric Cole I thought would do well, missed the cut, and then my other guys,
I think both my guys made the cut.
Yeah, you 62 combined for you, 72 for me.
Because you had an MC, but Lowry did pretty well.
Lowry was T4. He was winning going into Sunday, and then didn't play great.
This weekend, just because it's been the hot hand goes week to week, and it seems like they played really well for 2 straight weeks. I'm going Van Rooyen and Hoosgaard.
All right, I like it. I wouldn't be surprised if Scheffler won. He's played really, really well.
Yeah, Scheffler's played well there. I mean, I just try to not pick the obvious, but
yeah. I'm gonna go Cam Young. He's played well lately. He needs a win. He hasn't won anything in his career on the PGA Tour yet. And then Keegan Bradley.
Bradley usually plays pretty well there.
Solid so far this season.
It's going to be kind of a crappy weekend here. We got golf out. We got our first round of golf in last Sunday, so it's going to be kind of 40s and chillier. So we'll get a chance. Hopefully they'll get some good weather in Florida, and we'll get a chance to play and watch them play.
Yeah, let's see. Check Orlando really quick while we're doing it. Yeah, that I'm excited to watch. I love Bay Hill. It's cool. Some fun holes out there.
It's a course you can play.
Orlando, Florida. It is. Yeah, it's not awfully expensive either. Thursday, 81 sunny. Friday, 82 and sunny. Saturday, 87. Slight chance of thunderstorms, 20%. Sunday, slight chance of thunderstorms, 77 and breezy.
So front's going to go in 87 on Saturday. That's pretty toasty for this time of the year for sure. So
yeah, I don't think I have anything else golf-wise.
No, nothing big golf. I saw some stuff. There's always live stuff in Golf Digest, but I didn't pick anything out. I've been kind of busy at work, so I didn't pick anything in particular out to talk about for golf there. But, as basketball winds down in a month or so and golf starts to heat back up, we'll put a little bit more into golf.
Yeah, and hopefully a Red Wings playoff push.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, time to sprint it home. Best quarterback. Who's the one quarterback in this draft that you'd want to draft? If you were starting a franchise and needed a quarterback.
Quarterback from UNC.
Drake May?
Yeah.
I like him. I'm going to go Daniels. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's pretty skinny.
He's skinny, but
he's kind of like Stroud, though. Stroud's built similarly, so I don't know. I don't think Williams is going to do anything. I don't get the JJ
people say
hype.
this draft, there are like 6 quarterbacks in the top 15. I don't think any of them are great. I don't. I think it's a pretty weak.
Like JJ's a winner, but I never saw him throw more than an intermediate pass at Michigan. I just don't.
I saw a mock draft earlier, had him going 3rd. That's ridiculous.
If my team picked him at 3rd, you're talking like, I'm not going to say criminally or whatever, or alcoholic or whatever, like Ryan Leaf, but I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to be a bust if he's that high. He's better off falling to like 2nd or 3rd round and fighting his way up.
Like where he can have players around him already.
He was set up in a good situation at Michigan. He didn't have to take a whole lot of risks. You go that early in the draft, you go to a crappy team. I don't think he's it. Yeah. I don't think he's it.
Great. Would you take $600 in a free video game to be in a video game?
Sure.
Yeah.
You can do a video game of me spinning in my chair at work or something.
Yeah, right. Will there ever be another Caitlin Clark? I think she's one of a kind, honestly, for women. I mean, yeah, they've been really good players, but she's like a unicorn scoring, passing.
I mean, everybody thought that Paige Bruckers was going to be the thing, and she's good, but like, she's just amazing. I mean, her range is amazing. She's a passer. She's a scorer. Yeah. She plays for a winner. It's not just about her. She's got the work ethic, which is rare in today's day and age. I don't think. I mean, I don't follow women's basketball, but I would be shocked in the next 10, 15 years.
Well, I guess the question to piggyback off is, will that record ever be broken?
By women, no.
By a man? Could it? I mean, not many people say
no, because guys won't stick around for 4 years like that. No, I don't think so. I don't think Pistol Pete's record will ever be beaten. And again, he did that in 3 years with no 3-point line.
Crazy.
I think of a guy like Scott Skiles. He played with the 3-point line only as a senior. If he had the 3-point line all 4 years with the range that he shot, he would by far and away be Michigan State's all-time leading scorer.
Yeah, he still was way up there.
He's still way up there. I mean, Westbrook's the guy, but he had the 3-point line. If Skiles had that, like if Pistol Pete had that and he did it in 3 years, you're talking he'd probably have over 4,000 points. So, but hey, again, like I said in my open, good for Caitlin. Phenomenal. I enjoy watching her play, and I frankly don't like women's basketball. I think it's boring, but I think she adds an excitement to it. So stop comparing her to the men and let her dominate the women, which is what she's doing.
Right. Last one, best popcorn type flavor, I guess.
Caramel corn.
All right, mine was between. I'm gonna go kettle corn.
Although I will say, movie theater popcorn with the butter, and a little bit of a ranch powder on top,
and the ranch. I just like the butter.
Or the cheddar powder on top.
The artery clogging butter.
If I really want to go old school, I go with the Jim Gam. Melt the butter and Velveeta in a saucepan and pour that over microwave popcorn. That's a heart attack waiting to happen, but that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, that's 164. Appreciate you guys listening. Let us know what questions you have. Answer those next week. Conference tournament week for all. That didn't start this week. But yeah, appreciate you guys listening. Welcome to March.
All right, meantime, in honor of, I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, but Dave Debussier, the best teams have chemistry, they communicate with each other, and they sacrifice personal glory for the common goal. Why don't you listen to the podcast, Michigan State, and do us a favor the next 2 weeks?